Well, hello, folks. This is a handout. First off, this is going to be an overview of Super's developmental theory, and with it includes a couple activities at the end. This is a nice handout. This is on the page, but it really does show a great overview of Super's life stages and developmental tasks. So he's looking at each of these areas: growth, exploration, establishment, maintenance, and decline. And actually, you'll notice we don't. He doesn't use. This is an older chart I found online. He doesn't use that word anymore. He actually uses disengagement. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I thought it was a very good overview of his stages and developmental tasks, so I wanted to include that for you. And that you will find that the right in the class. It's underneath the assignments, I think, this week. So, developmental theory. Life can be divided into five developmental stages: growth, exploration, establishment, maintenance, and disengagement. And you can see he changed this. It used to be called decline until Donald Super got older and suddenly got to about 60 years old and said, well, wait a minute, decline isn't really the best word that describes me and what's going on, so he changed it. Each stage is characterized by very specific developmental tasks, and that chart that I just showed you and that and is uploaded into the class lays a lot of that out in a very nice way. And that even though there's a variation in timing, most people experience these stages and tasks at some point in their lives. And this is an older theory. I think there's still a lot of value in it, and Sunny Hansen really developed a lot of her pieces of her theory based upon this theory. So there's still a lot of value in it. But you got to remember it was developed in the 50s, so there are some flaws, and some of it is in this timing. People, I think, he talked about growth from until you're around 15, and then exploration 15 to 25, and then people get established in a career, and then you maintain that career, and then you disengage and retire. Well, people are reinventing themselves all the time, and so I think you cycle through these more. There's probably a framework of growth here, but I think a lot of people would cycle through the exploration and establishment and maintenance, and maybe more than one time. I don't know. We'll talk about that online, I hope. So big thing here though. Career really changed with Super, and he talked about career as a combination of life roles being played at any given point across the lifespan. That's very different than the common term career. When people say I want a career, they're really thinking about a job or an occupation. But his theory is much broader, and again, this is what Sunny Hansen embraced. So, if you haven't seen Super's Rainbow, this is a great, pretty little picture, but it actually is pretty nice. I mean, it really breaks out the different roles that people play, and because it's developmental, it really shows that those roles can actually change over time from the left side of this rainbow, which typically is when people are born and grow up, to the right side is when as they get older and retire and die. And we're going to actually do a rainbow activity here in a minute. So, what are the 8 roles? Son or daughter. This is really time and energy spent relating to parents. And so, when you're a child, obviously you spend much more time doing that as you get older, and it can shrink, but then it can actually grow again. Many of us are finding that out. You have a role as a student or a learner, and this is really that time and energy spent learning and gaining new skills. And then there's worker time, time that you're spent in paid employment. And then what are you doing as a spouse or a partner? How does what is the time commitment to that, and how does that fit in compared to all the other roles? Homemaker time, really, and this is where Sunny really hit home in her theory, and that is she really saw the homemaker as less men and women, and doing all the kinds of work rather than people dividing it up. I mean, that's a great debate to have. I mean, it's really interesting that 2 of my 3 sons are the head cooks in the house, and they do most of the grocery shopping and the cooking, and their spouses or partners. That's not as big of a part of their life. So I think this is definitely evolved, but it still takes time and energy. And then time and energy spent raising children. Well, some people don't have any children. They may be an uncle or sort of a surrogate parent. We're a surrogate parent to one family here that my wife kind of took under this young woman's when she was 15, and she's just been a part of our life ever since. And she calls us mom and dad, and her kids call us Grampy and Pepe. So that role can look different, but it's that relationship that we're really thinking about with the roles. And then what are you doing in your leisure time? How much time are you spending on this, and how does that fit into this bigger picture of who you are? And then what's your community involvement, and how does that look? So what are the nature of the roles? And this is really where I think we can do a lot of good work. Roles change in bandwidth and in intensity over lifespan, and I'll give you an example when you see my rainbow here in a minute. But that's a key component here, and I think this is one that we can really help people with. And they interact with each other. And again, Sunny said much of this, and a lot of her thinking came from Super and this developmental theory. But if I'm going to get involved with 10 different community associations and organizations, something has to give. Interests, skills, and values can be assigned to a variety of different life roles. How do those values, how do those skills apply? Can I use these skills in work? Can I use them in play? Can I use them in the community? And then playing many roles actually may enhance life satisfaction for some people. But, and actually, for some people, it can really lead to an overwhelming feeling. And I certainly have dealt with clients that was true. So what are the main ideas of Super's developmental theory? That individual self-concept is the primary concern. Who am I? How do I fit into this? With trait factor, starting back with Parsons and going into Holland, it's not so much about self-concept. It's about connecting those. These are my skills, and how do I use them in the job? And that an occupational choice is actually a way to live out a self-concept. I mean, this is who I am. I'm an educator, and how do I make that work? How does it come out? What does it look like with a job? Positive feedback and support. I mean, we are hoping that this comes from family members, spouses, friends. Sometimes Sometimes we're the only person that's really giving them the feedback and the support, but it is a key component to this when we're working with clients. And maturity, this is why it's a developmental concept. There's a lot of maturity that you're going to change over time. Your roles are going to change over time. Your values may change and adjust and tweak over time. And that values really are a huge part of this occupational choice that often didn't used to get a lot of credit, but there's actually quite a bit of airtime with values at this point in career development in our field, anyways. So what are the implications for career counseling? Basically, to help identify the career development stage and to help set goals for helping each of our clients master these tasks that are unique to each stage. So if you're working with a high school student, it's going to be different than you're working with a boomer. We really want to help students or our clients clarify that self-concept, really get that self-knowledge and really to help increase that vocational maturity. Who am I? Where am I going? And how do I gain that? How does the self-knowledge of a tie to the different occupations, and where am I gonna grow to? We also use it to expose students and our clients to a wider range of careers, because we really want them to consider lots of options so that they can sort of cross some off, because over time they really will begin to narrow down their thinking. It's really what I do. Spend a lot of time with students at Colby is, what are the occupational choices that you have, and which ones do you want to get rid of, and can you narrow this down to a certain kind of occupation or a certain kind of company Is it nonprofits or is it, financial and for profit? And then lifestyle. I always said, your job is going to create a lifestyle, and you really want to consider that, and consider that there's a relevance to, if you love the certain subjects, maybe you ought to pay attention to that. But every job has a lifestyle. When I was a guidance counselor, I mean, I had a certain, very specific lifestyle. I had summers off, school vacations. My lifestyle now is very different, very flexible, but many, many hours. So that, everything is a little different here, and that's what we can help people understand things over that broader time. And then a lot of supers thinking is about work experiences, and this is really action. Boy, if there's any one thing I've learned in any of most of these theories, it's that action steps are required. Try different things, try different experiences, so that you can really get a feel for what does it look like, what does it feel like. And then super's developmental view of career development is really, it changes over time. You know, the person that you are, the person that I was in high school, very different than the person I was when I finished grad school, which is really, I mean, obviously there's similarities, but my thinking about jobs, my thinking about all this is very different as I approach my, you know, late 50s and 60s. So this is the rainbow. So I've got a copy of this for you. You can actually print this off on your own. But I wanted to show you what I did. So you can see on the left, as when I was younger, that as a child that was a huge roll. But that roll, that green arrow, it's still a green shaded area. It's still me. And when my mother died, in probably when I was 50. That could have narrowed that a little bit, but it's still a role I play with my father. Student role was very big. I still consider myself a student, so I kept that right through there. My worker role is large. My spouse role is large. You can see, and hasn't changed pretty much. It came into play when I was around 30. Parenting, I had two stepchildren right off the bat, and then my own son. And then as they left the house, they really we have more of an adult relationship, so that changed. Leisure, I didn't know what to do with leisure. It was a hard one, and even citizen, I felt like I got shortchanged as I kept drawing my chart here. But leisure's always been important to me, and was a lot larger in my 20s and 30s. Actually, I traveled through New Zealand, took a year off, and ran around. So I wanted to get a hump over there around 25 that represented some of that. My citizen role has always been big. But one of the things that you can see here is in my time period between 35 and 50, I was very busy. I was a parent to three boys. I was working, lots of hours. I was also very involved. I was president of the main school counselors and involved with lots of different citizen stuff. And it's no wonder I felt busy. No wonder I felt squeezed in those time periods. So this is just a picture. I like the colors. I always have the colored pencils that I like to play with. What I want you to do, and this is one of the activities, you can either print this off and do it the same way that I did it, or you can simply just draw freehand your own rainbow with your different roles. But it doesn't matter. I've really seen different versions of this, and then really they all work as far as really mining out the different roles we play at different times in our lives. So that's the one discussion, that's the one activity, and there will be a discussion around that. The other discussion that we're going to have is a case study. This will be the second discussion for this week, and this is sort of modeled after a student I worked with at the community college. So I'm not going to read that to you right now. It's all in online there. But this is the second one. Basically, she's a high school graduate, married, three kids, came to college, and was struggling. And what we're looking for is come up with three questions that you would like to ask her, based upon some of this developmental theory. What are the questions? What are the angles that you would take? And you can post your own thoughts or jump off of other people's thoughts in the discussion. So That's what we're working on this week, and a couple other readings there, but we'll see you online.